I'm Brian Professor B. Davidson. Welcome to our San Francisco 49ers 2020 season preview on Niners Radio in conjunction with the Arena Sportsnet Bay Area, as well for all the Niner fans faithful wherever you are watching from the Bay Area and beyond and beyond. Well, the San Francisco 49ers are going to start the 2020 NFL season. They'll kick it off as the Niners will be back as the defending their crown as champions of the NFC, as the Niners trying to bounce but reeling back after that tough Super Bowl heartbreaker to the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 54 in Miami last February, as the Niners end up falling just short to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, as the Niners, of course, coming off a year from a turnaround season from 4-12 to finishing up 13-3 was the best record in the NFC. And now this year in 2020, it's going to be it's been kind of a trying times in 2020 over the last 6 months with the COVID-19 and with all the social injustice of the protesters throughout the entire summer. We're finally going to have NFL football back, beginning its 101st season of this in the National Football League. This is kind of the road, the quest for six begins for San Francisco, and we're just going to take a look at where the Niners were then and now. Niners, of course, champions of the NFC. They end up going 13-3 with a lot of wild wins down the stretch drive. The wild ride, the win against the Saints last year, again, and then in the regular season finale, maybe the game for the ages when they beat the Seahawks on that goal line stand when the Dre Greenlaw's hit that had the Seahawks inches short of the goal line, that gave the Niners the NFC West title, the first round bye and the number one seed in the NFC. Then they beat the Vikings in the divisional playoffs. Then they beat the Packers in the NFC Championship, and then they got to the Super Bowl, and they couldn't quite hold that 10-point lead and ended up losing Super Bowl 54 to the Chiefs down in Miami. But that is then. This is now. This 2020 season, the Niners looking forward to hopefully try to get back there this year to the Super Bowl to vindicate themselves after that heartbreaking loss last February in Miami. Looking at some of the numbers, and also in the NFC West, you look around, the Niners end up, having end up the big moves they did this offseason. They end up trading DeForest Buckner to the Indianapolis Colts, and then end up signing George Kittle to that long-term contract extension. And then you also look at who the Niners drafted, Brandon Ayuk, who will have that will be a big key. And then with Deebo Samuel, who missed all of training camp because of that Liz Frank injury that kept him out for over 12 weeks. Both a good chance, as we do on the taping, could be playing this Sunday in Week 1 against the Arizona Cardinals. And we're going to be looking into it. We'll take a look at also what the NFC West offers, because the Niners, it will not be a cakewalk like it was last year. As the Niners end up looking at the West, the teams who they're going to be challenging, the Arizona Cardinals, who the Niners will play on Sunday. They'll have Kyler Murray beginning his second year with the Cardinals. Then you also look at who they, bringing in Isaiah Simmons, a drafty linebacker with that pass rush, and DeAndre Hopkins just signed a new contract extension for the Arizona Cardinals, who they acquired in a trade from the Houston Texans. So that's going to be a great matchup. We'll also, we'll talk about that in our preview as well during the year when we have. And then also looking at the veteran Larry Fitzgerald, who one day will be getting his gold jacket and his bus in Canton for the Pro Football Hall of Fame down the road in Canton, Ohio. And then Kenyon Drake, the running back, that's going to be a huge thing. And their offense needs some big playmakers. And then you got the secondary, Butter Baker and Patrick Peterson will man the secondary for the Cardinals. And then in the rest of the division, the Seattle Seahawks, of course, last year the Seahawks finished 11-5. Under Pete Carroll, they've made the playoffs in 9 of the last 10 years. Russell Wilson, wide receiver DK Metcalf, Philip Dorsett, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson will be back from the injury that kept him out the rest of the year. Defensively, Jamal Adams, who they pick up in the secondary from the New York Jets in a trade. And then also for the Niners, you'll have Jimmy Garoppolo back at quarterback. George Kittle just signed that long-term contract. Jerick McKinnon will be back this year after missing 2 seasons with the knee issues. And then Javon Kinlaw from South Carolina. And then, Nick Bosa and Richard Sherman. And we look at it also. So I look at the predictions for this season. I'm going to look at this. This is how for the West, how it's going to be played out. Niners are going to go 13-3. They'll finish first in the West. Seahawks going to go, I say they're going to be about 11-5. Arizona 10-6. And I got the Rams. And the Rams, of course, they have changed so much of their personnel. They said goodbye to some of their veterans in the offseason. They said goodbye to Todd Gurley, Brandon Cooks, and then, but they got Cooper Kupp back. He have a sort of an injury issue right now. And then, but you still got that defense, Aaron Donald and company as well. And the Rams had to go through some personnel, and they got a new defensive coordinator after they parted ways with Wade Phillips after the 2019 season. So I look at this division right now. I say, look, this Niners are set for a long time. They're gonna finish 13-3. Seattle will go. I got them going 11-5. Arizona 10-6. I got the Cardinals making the playoffs, and the Rams, I see them going to finish the basement. They're going to finish no better than 8-8 for the season. And we now also take a look at also a reminder also that D Ford has also restructured his contract, and it's worth $9.5 million in cap room. So we take a look at what's going to be coming up for this year on ASN Bay Area and part of the Niners Niners Radio. We'll have the Niners weekly show. We'll have our weekly show with Brian Bauer, Dina Howard. That will be Mondays or Wednesdays at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Check them out on Niners Radio. Professor B, the season premiere of Friday Football Forecast, we'll do that every Friday live. Recap week 1. We'll preview week 1. Every week we'll have a preview. We'll preview every game. We'll do our picks. And then after that, we'll be, and that's be our Friday Football Forecast. Sundays will be 49ers pregame live. We'll have our pregame live on Sundays. We will have the pregame live. We'll have our pregame live on game days on Sundays. Now, due to the COVID-19, we will, for week 1, the Niners play the Cardinals at Levi Stadium. We will not be out at Empire Road at this time due to the COVID-19 with the restrictions. The NFL will not going to allow fans at this time. This is under conjunction with the National Football League and the state of California. So we'll be having all our pregame shows temporarily in the studio, and possibly, we'll have some remote locations later in the season. We'll give you the time and date for future some home games as well. We'll have on remote. And then we'll have our pregame live on game days in the studio. We'll also have it on a remote location on an outdoor venue. We'll give you that will be to be determined on a later date at press time when it's available. Then we'll have our halftime show again. Then we have the Niners postgame live. Postgame live will be immediately after the Niners Cardinals game. And then we'll have a postgame recap. We'll have a pre-recorded in case you missed the postgame recap. We'll have our postgame recap pre-recorded via Niners Radio. As for the postgame live, we'll recap every week. We'll recap every game, the scoreboard, Niners game, get people to talk about the game. And then also we'll also have a segment or weekly podcast behind enemy lines. We'll preview every team this season. Then for the 49ers 408 chapter, for fans who are not able to come to the game, the Niners will be hosting the 408, our good friends 408 chapter. The people you've seen at Empire Road will be having their get together at Big Al's. That's over in the South Bay, and it's located 27 Ranch Drive in Milpitas. That is, I have never been out that way to Big Al's, but I definitely want to take a look at it when I have a chance. We'll be doing some pregame or doing some live shows there throughout the season. So we're going to probably be doing some. Stay tuned on ASN Bay Area and Niners Radio when we'll be going on remote. And then they'll have an outdoor dining watch party for 49er games and all NFL games. More information, call them at 669-217 or 669-271-0011. That's 669-271-0011. And then on Mondays we'll have our Monday quarterback. Every Monday we'll have our Monday quarterback recapping of every week of the season. And the Niners will start off. They'll play the Arizona Cardinals for the first week of the season. That it will be, and then after this Sunday they'll spend the next week in New York to take on both the Jets and Giants, and they will stay a week in the East Coast, and then the Niners won't be back at the Mecca till week number 4 when they'll take on the Philadelphia Eagles at the Mecca. The Eagles will be making their, only for the second time they'll be making their trip out here to the Bay Area, to the Mecca. Their first since 2014. By the way, the Niners will be on prime time for football 5 times this year. They'll play the Eagles on the 4th, and then they'll play the Miami Dolphins for an interconference matchup, and that will be on Fox on October 11th at the Mecca. Then and then 2 weeks later, and then on the 18th they'll play the Rams 5:20 on NBC. That will be back at the Mecca. Then they'll play the New England Patriots at Foxborough. They'll travel east. The Niners will make their first trip back to Foxborough since 2012. And that memorable game against the Patriots on that Sunday night game. This will be a 1:25 local time on CBS 5, and that's going to be a game. I'm assuming Jim Nantz will call that game. Then they're at Seattle on November, the day after Halloween, 2 days before Election Day. Less than 48 hours after that, they'll play the Seahawks up at Seattle. Then they'll play the Packers. They'll play Green Bay on the 5th on that Thursday. Then on the 15th, they will play the Saints in that rematch game. That will be on Fox. And then on the 22nd, they'll have a bye week. They'll have their bye week on the 22nd. Then they're back at playing the Rams on the 29th against the Rams. That's going to be a 105 game. Then they play the Bills on Monday night. The Bills will be making their first ever appearance out to the Mecca. Them and the Dolphins, by the way, they get the AFC East. They'll play the Bills on Monday night, and then they'll play the Washington Redskins, or correction, the Washington team. They're no longer the Washington Redskins. I'm going to have to learn that very quick. The franchise formerly known as the Washington Redskins, 125, that's going to be a Fox game. Then they play the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. It's a prime time, a rivalry renewed. This goes back to the rivalry of the early 70s when the Niners played the Cowboys, to Roger Staubach's miracle comeback against the Niners in the playoffs, to Dwight Clark, the catch that started the dynasty, through the battles of the Niners and Cowboy rivalry of the early mid-90s. They'll play a 5:20 game on NBC, and then they'll play Arizona Cardinals. Either it's going to be the day after Christmas on the 26th or on the 27th down in the desert. That could have a lot of scenarios for the NFC West, and then they wrap it up against the Seattle Seahawks, 125 on Fox on January 3rd, and the chance that game could be flexed into the NBC Sunday night prime time coming up. So I look at the schedule this season. I got the Niners going 13-3, and I really believe that this team are hungry, and I got them going back to the Super Bowl, this time winning the Super Bowl. But that's it for now. I'd like to thank you all watching this special Niners 2020 season preview, and we'll as the road to Tampa begins this Sunday, week 1, as the quest for 6 begins for your San Francisco 49ers. We'll have all the latest news, developing breaking news, and we'll cover wall to wall from here to all the way till we hope get to Tampa, and the Niners, they begin the quest for the 6th Super Bowl title. That's it for now. I'm Brian Professor B. Davis, and so long. You've been watching this special edition of 49ers 2020 season preview, the quest for 6, on Arena Sportsnet Bay Area, in conjunction with Niners Radio, where every team has a fan and every fan has a voice. The network home of champions. 49ers football, faithful then, faithful now. Go Niners!